to a deluge. Rivers threatening to overflow their banks. The rain still falling in the Fraser Valley. And a dangerous search for two teens who phoned home last night to say they were lost on the North Shore Mountains.
Live from Global British Columbia, the early news with Deborah Hope.
Good afternoon. It's one of the heaviest downpours in a decade or more. Areas of the Lower Mainland have had up to 300 millimeters or more than a foot of rain in the past 4 days. We have extensive coverage of the flooding on the south coast and on the island. Now, a flood watch is in effect for most of the rivers in the Fraser Valley. We have some aerial footage that was taken just about an hour ago near Agassiz and Chilliwack. Homes, barns and roads there completely underwater, and entire trees have been swept away and are now floating downriver. Police are blocking roads and working to evacuate homes that are in jeopardy in Chilliwack and in Hope. And a state of emergency is in effect in Chilliwack. Chris Galis is covering the emergency in Chilliwack this afternoon, and he joins us now. Chris, what's the latest?
Well, there's actually some breaking news right now regarding the status of the evacuation order. We'll get to that from Environment Minister Barry Penner in just a moment. But we want to show you what was happening here for a lot of communities, or for one community and a lot of homes along the Chilliwack River. This is along Chilliwack Lake Road, where the river spilled well over its banks, and a lot of homes were inundated along there. There was an evacuation order for approximately a dozen families and some visitors who were in some cabins there and didn't want to leave as quickly as maybe they should have, but it became apparent really quickly that it was time to get out. Further upstream, we saw some cattle that were stranded in what used to be their pasture. They were all huddled together on a little piece of high ground, and since then, we just drove past there about 20 minutes ago. They've been there for several hours. Now, there was a couple of homeowners that we spoke to who were very concerned about the water level coming even closer to their properties. As a homeowner, what your thoughts are when you look out your back door?
Frightening. In the daytime, it's okay. At least you can see you are still on the ground, but I don't know what will happen tonight.
Now, clearly, Tamara is very concerned. She has lived on the Chilliwack River for 30 years. She has a husband who's 94 years old, and neither of them drive. He is bedridden. So we spoke to the RCMP. They're aware of the situation there. And if there is an expanded evacuation order, that's the first place they'll check in with. And as a matter of fact, we have the very latest on the evacuation order right now. Environment Minister Barry Penner just stepped into frame here, and we can get the latest from you. What's the status of the evacuation order?
The evacuation order has just been expanded by a decision of the regional district here in the Fraser Valley. I've been in contact with the chair, Clint Hames, the mayor of Chilliwack. He's been out here this afternoon as well with us. And we've just expanded the order, or they have, to include about 120 additional homes. So we're not just talking Wilson Road or the area up to Edward Road off of Chilliwack Lake. Now we're talking about 120 homes, primarily or especially in the area of the Baker Trails Trailer Park. And that's right alongside the water, just above the on-the-way store. Right as we speak, RCMP officers and search and rescue volunteers, who are doing an incredible job, by the way, are out knocking on doors, getting the word out that for your own safety, if you live in that trailer park or if you're at any of these other houses on this list, for your own safety, you should get out.
And we visited the staging area of the search and rescue crews just a few minutes ago. There are a number of volunteers there, obviously ready to help if you need it. So what's your best advice to people if they need a little help getting out of there?
Well, first of all, the volunteers are trained, and so they know what they're doing. And whether it's the volunteer fire department or the search and rescue people, they've reacted very quickly this afternoon. They're filling up sandbags, they're distributing those, and now they're knocking on doors of these extra 120 residences. Anybody else who doesn't live in that area, you'd be best to stay away. The officials do have the situation in hand in terms of getting the word out. Any extra traffic is really just getting in the way.
It's been several minutes since we felt a raindrop here, and is there any information you're getting about whether river levels are dropping? Are they still expected to crest? What do you know?
This river here has actually come down a few inches or centimeters in the last couple hours, but it's still volatile. We could have major cloudbursts still. According to Environment Canada, we could still have some additional precipitation up until around midnight, and that could be a heavy thunderstorm. So the river could fluctuate. So we're not taking anything for granted, and that's why the regional district's ordering the extra evacuations.
All right, we appreciate you coming in and giving us the latest information. Thank you very much,
Thank
Barry.
you very much.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So you heard it there. The evacuation order expanded to about 120 other dwellings in the area along the Chilliwack and Vedder rivers. We'll have more coverage from this location for you and more on the flooding coming up on the News Hour at 6. Deb, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Chris